is new. So, Ali Kefi, he said the efforts to derail the investigation, like these other details, okay, said the OSW had gathered extensive evidence for terrorism financing charges against 48 suspects in custody. They already have them in custody. They have everything they needed. Sure you get. However, they said they faced persistent pressure to downgrade the charges to money laundering, something he believed was designed to divert the case to the EFCC, which at the time was under the influence of Malami and shared by Abdulrashid Bawa, Malami's relative. You following? I'm not accusing them of funding terrorism, but I'm just telling. That's why you say, Kefi is saying, I'm not accusing them of terrorism, but I'm just saying our investigation could have helped a lot if they didn't use their position to frustrate the investigation. Once they reduce terrorism to money laundering, you understand? What else? What is left? It will be EFCC. They will just look for one money and say, I could not explain for this $10 million. Hey, 6 months in prison. 6 months in prison. Then it won't even go to the prison. They will say, also the time he was detained and all of that. That's it. Boom. They go back funding terrorism. Windy City. It's actually really good to see you. I can't see you, but it's good to hear from you. The Windy City. God bless you, sir. Are you following? The reason why you need to know all of this is that every time you hear them talk about they are doing their best to stop this terrorism, every time that you have to be worried that yourself, your partner, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, your children would have to travel on these roads now. You have no idea what is lurking behind those bushes. Everybody is a fair game right now. Then you ask yourself, what exactly is the reason why we can't protect ourselves? It is not because you don't have enough personnel to face them. It is not because your military is non-existent. It is because internally there are those who have used their position to frustrate all this and ensure that those who are supposed to be standing trial, responsible for killing Nigerians, they are not. They are walking free. You are seeing them like doing allergy here and there. They are still going to their businesses. They are still funding terrorism. Because some people frustrated the investigation. Here is another part. What happened to those 48 people? He said that a top prosecution lawyer assisting OSW was removed without explanation after refusing to compromise her stance that terrorism financing charges were warranted. These people were supposed to be charged for terrorism. You get me now? Not money laundering. No. This is not money laundering. In fact, we will charge them for money laundering as well. But the money they are laundering is to fund terrorism. We have evidence. Let's go on and do that. They said no. So they arrested the person doing the investigation, locked him up for 64 days. They removed the head of the legal team who put together the entire case. They removed her. So what happened next? According to him, the Attorney General of the Federation, Malamu, his office, failed to obtain necessary court orders for asset forfeiture and instead applied only for detention orders. You dey follow? That is what you call compromise, sabotaging the process. And what happened when you sabotage a criminal charges or process like this? People die. You get that now? People die. People get kidnapped. Communities get ransacked, burned down. Farms get destroyed. When you use your position, you sworn by the constitution of the country to defend that constitution, which the constitution says your first job is to protect the people. Now, if these people are innocent, you don't need to stop the probe. In fact, you have to accelerate it So they will have the chance to clear themselves. And if they can't clear themselves, they go down for it. You will be saving lives. But compromised system, this is how it works. Those they give guns to, uniforms, give them uniforms, the soldiers, the police, the DSS or whatever, all those ones who they put in the arms way, they are already compromised. Their operation compromised because those who were supposed to be taken out are being protected by the power that be, that also gave them guns to go after the terrorists. It's crazy, right? Now, what happened next? According to him, since they didn't get the right court order, asset forfeiture, bank account closure, include, with every evidence they had, but only detention order, meaning let's detain them so that it won't be like we didn't do anything. Then after that, what happened? It's according to him, the presidency and powerful officials wanted to kill the investigation. Simple as ABC. Simple as ABC. They wanted the investigation killed. So after his release from detention, he said, I was told by Amantu Koribadu that Nigerian government wrote to the US to unfreeze the account. Yeah, they unfroze the account. The one they traced with $600 million plus, right? Nigeria wrote. He said, in quote, he said, let me state that in the course of the investigation, sometime in August or September 2021, Abubakar removed one of the top prosecution lawyers who was assisting the OSW to build up the case without any explanation to me. I later learned that she refused to compromise her stance, which was that we had sufficient evidence to present in court on charges of terrorism financing against all the 48 suspects that were in OSW custody. He continued, in quote, I recall that I stated in my letter of redress that pressure was being mounted on me to build a case of money laundering against the individuals and not terrorism financing. I suspected that the powers that be at the time wanted the case to be transferred to the EFCC, which is under the control of Malamu. Right? So what happened next? Let's jump it. Release of the suspects when they removed their kefi, because that's what happened. He said, after his removal, detention, and compulsory retirement, OSW was effectively altered. That means the investigation stopped. He said the suspects arrested by OSW were eventually released. None of the 20 top suspects, nor others arrested, were ever charged to court. The suspects were allegedly warned not to speak to the media or take legal action over their 9-month detention. He said these details were confirmed to him by an insider. In quote, I understand that the 20 suspects were never charged or taken to court. They were all released. I was made to understand from an insider that the suspect before they were released, were warned not to go to the media or to go to the court as a result of their detention for over 9 months. NFIU was pressured to drop the accusation of terrorism financing. That's it. Meanwhile, they had another list of 400 suspects. So since they couldn't prosecute 48, right? Malamu used this office. It's like consistently mentioned, okay? Buratai the butcher did the job of getting rid of him and ensuring that, you get, right? Emefiole, because of his connection with the Burundi change and all of those guys, at the time, there were particular ones that were traced back to their own round-tripping crime, which is part of what Emefiole is currently standing trial for. You know what I mean? Like, it was selling dollars to some Burundi change from northern Nigeria, right? Us these BDCs. So we're selling them dollars at the rate of 1989, 1985 exchange rates, like 50 kobo, 1 naira, 50 kobo per dollar. When Nigerians were buying a dollar, or business kind of traders were buying a dollar at the rate of 400 naira to $1, 350 naira to $1. So they made a kill, which eventually killed the Central Bank of Nigeria. that Tifnumbu has now been patching and fixing figures to present as good, right? Now, I want you to hear something. Let me use this as a short break, right? I've been speaking for like an hour, right? Now, the guy himself, Ali Kefi, he was recently on a program, in fact, two programs, okay, where he was talking about, his role at the time, and at the same time being a security expert, so to say, right? Speaking on the statement of Donald Trump and why the terrorists have become so emboldened enough that they are taunting Trump. Here you get me now. They are taunting Trump to attack or invade, blah, 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 blah. So listen to this first one.
Our Nigeria is a land of tears, of anguish, of pain, of so many broken lives. At the forefront of combating the menace of insecurity in the country is our gallant armed services, our gallant security agencies and agents, our hardworking paramilitary and other security intelligence organizations. These are at the forefront. Every Nigerian is now in the combat zone. However, as I said, the military, the members of the armed forces, the police, and other security organizations and intelligence agencies are right at the forefront. But despite these best efforts, despite these endeavors, we still have pains. The country is bleeding.
Yeah. It's a killing field. You get what I mean? There's no country in the world that is experiencing what Nigerians are currently experiencing. It's just not getting the right attention. And when it got Trump's attention, right, it seemed like all hell let loose. And here is Ali Kefi's own view on that a few weeks back.
But again, there's another point, another aspect I want to look at it. I mean, ever since President Trump made the threat of invading the country, so to speak, of course, as a military, with my military background, I don't think the invasion is going to be American boots on the ground, but maybe targeted attacks, just like what is happening in Somalia against the Al-Shabaab, missile strikes, this thing. But ever since that happened, have you noticed the frequency of attacks? Perhaps the bandits trying to dare America. Say, okay.
It's funny you say that. I was actually thinking about that earlier today.
Yeah.
They seem to have upped their ante, have they?
Yeah, I mean, because, look, if the United States should carry out, say, missile strike against this will play into the hands of those insurgents. This is what they want. They want to see the collapse of the Nigerian state. They want to humiliate the government. And the government, of course, seems not to care. And that's why they refuse to act. I mean, I keep on saying for the past 2 years, I have been calling, and a lot of other Nigerians have been calling on the government to act. But this seems, it seems, I don't know, a lethargy, kind of hesitation. I don't know.
So again, it's completely up to what Nigeria does next. Having known all of this information is still very much public. For example, right, the Sahara Reporter released, like I said, an exclusive report where about 20 people, right, have actually been listed as known, verified, formally arrested, investigated terror sponsors in Nigeria, inside Nigeria and outside Nigeria. And I remember this list first surfaced about 4 years ago, except if it has now been updated. All right, it's about 4 years ago or 5 years ago when UAE released similar list. Those who were in Nigeria through the Bureau de Change, those who were outside Nigeria, and what happened to them. Did you know that UAE also jailed some of these terror sponsors in UAE? Yeah, those of them that were caught there. Others who were like they are living in UAE, but they were not in UAE when that clampdown took place. So they sent their names to Nigeria government and said, these ones, in case if you see them in Nigeria, They are part of this whole thing in your country. You know, ironically, right? You get to know that UAE, Dubai, and other have been, is that Kuwait, or UAE? They've been accused of also funding some other group in other African countries. But they wrote Nigeria. They said, Nigeria, these guys are terror sponsors. And we have the evidence. How did they know? Some of them were raising funds for terrorism in UAE. They lived there, acting like they were clerics, okay, sponsoring something back in Nigeria. So they were raising money. UAE discovered that most of those people raising that kind of funds, they were using that as a cover. They were actually funding terrorism. What did Nigeria do? Nothing. Well, you heard it earlier, right? So let me give you this list as they appear so that we can leave it in the diary as well. Sahara Reporters, courtesy. Okay. So you have the ones called the local suspects. The first one is Alhaji Saidu Ahmed. Alhaji Saidu Ahmed, also known as Alhaji Saidu or Alhaji Saidu Gold, born in July 6, 1961, is a Nigerian businessman residing in Zaria, Kaduna State. Identified as a key financier of Boko Haram, he is connected to multiple associates and convicts through extensive financial transactions. His accounts have recorded inflows totaling over 4.8 billion naira. With frequent cash withdrawals, he is directly linked to convicts like Surajo Abubakar Muhammad, Ibrahim Ali Hassan, and Bashiru Aliyu Yusuf, as noted in United Arab Emirates court proceedings. That's one. That's one. Around 20 or 21 others. Clear details. That person lives in Zaria, I believe now. His associate in UAE have been convicted for terror funding. He is still living in Zaria as a free man. Remember that. There's another one. Husseini Adamu. Husseini Adamu is said to be born on the 2nd of March 1963 in Nigeria. Husseini Adamu, also known as Baba Husseini or Husseini Adamu, spelled like Husseini, is also a businessman operating in Kano, serving as a guarantor for convicts' accounts. His BVN-linked accounts, 111 of them across 9 banks, reflect inflows and outflows exceeding 43 billion naira and 50 billion naira respectively. He has been implicated in facilitating the procurement of weapons and other logistical support for terrorist activities. Where is Alhaji Husseini Adamu? He is in Kano. Yeah, you heard it now. All those billion rands some people are paying. Some people are collecting the total, put them together, send them somewhere, and they get something back. They have names. They exist. They are not invincible. They are members of APC, Ebekebe. Go and check it. Another one, Muhammad Sani Adam. Muhammad Sani was born on the 28th of March, 1978. He is also a businessman and trader in Forex and precious stones, operating in Kano and Yola. Yeah. All those people you go and sell your chain to, or some of them you buy from, you have no idea, but already change this and that. Those things are just cover. They have offices at different airports in Nigeria. All those things, they are just cover. I bet you probably knew that anyway. So, Muhammad Sani Adamu, his own 41 BVN-linked bank accounts across 14 banks revealed inflows of 54.1 billion naira and outflows of 54.4 billion naira, primarily in transfers to and from known convicts. He is recognized as the right-hand associate of Alhaji Saidu. These are still people operating, they are not in jail. even though they have links to those who are like convicted terrorists, as they are saying now. These ones are still operating everywhere. Why is that? How is that? There was no evidence of them being cleared by any court. No, they just never get tried or arrested, ever. Okay. There is another one.